The crash and the cry asterisk. The sky was quiet. It was a normal night in the forest. The wind moved gently through the trees. The stars above were shining. Birds were asleep. Everything was peaceful. Then, something strange happened. A loud sound came from the sky. Like thunder, but stronger. A light, bright and burning, shot across the sky like a falling star. But it was not a star. It was something else. It crashed deep into the forest. Trees shook. Animals ran. The ground trembled for a few seconds. Then everything went silent again. John was sitting alone in his small wooden cabin. He was a forest ranger. He lived far from the city. No family, no visitors. Just him and the trees. He heard the noise, felt the ground move. He stepped outside, looked up and saw smoke rising in the distance. Orange light flickered between the trees. He picked up his flashlight, wore his jacket, and started walking toward the light. The forest was dark, but John knew the way. He had walked these paths for years. But tonight, something felt different. The air was heavy. The silence was strange. After 20 minutes of walking, he reached the crash site. What he saw was impossible. A round silver pod was half buried in the ground. It was broken, smoking. Metal pieces were spread around. It didn't look human. Made. And beside it, someone was lying. A woman? No, not a normal woman. Her skin was blue. Not painted, naturally blue. Her hair was white, glowing softly. She wore a strange suit, torn and burned. Her stomach was large, like she was pregnant. She was breathing fast. In pain, John stepped closer. The woman opened her eyes. Big, shining. Eyes not like human eyes. She looked at him. Her lips moved. She was trying to speak. Help, please. Her voice was soft, shaking. John froze. His mind could not believe it. Was this real? An alien? A mother? Was he dreaming? Before he could think more, he heard another sound. Click dash click, like metal legs walking. He turned his flashlight. In the photo, shadows, red lights were moving, not animals. Not human. Something was there. Watching. The alien woman tried to sit up but cried in pain. She held her stomach. John understood. She was going to give birth. Right here. Right now. And something was hunting her. He had to decide, run away and stay safe, or help her. He stepped forward, knelt beside her, and looked into her eyes. I'll help you, he said softly. He took off his jacket, covered her, and gently helped her stand. She was weak, but she held on to him. He looked around. The red lights were getting closer. He had no time. He helped her walk. Slowly, carefully. There was an old ranger, stationed nearby, abandoned years ago. He used to keep tools there. It was hidden behind trees, hard to find. He took her there, locked the door, covered the windows. She lay down on a blanket, breathing hard. She looked at John again. They coming, she said. Who? John asked. She touched her stomach. Not just baby. Key, they want it, must live. John didn't understand everything, but he understood this. She was in danger, and so was her child. He gave her water, tried to make her comfortable. Outside, the red lights moved slowly past the cabin. John turned off the flashlight, sat beside her in the dark, watching, thinking. He had seen many strange things in the forest, but nothing like this. A pregnant alien woman crashing into Earth, asking for help. And something out there, hunting her. Who was she? Where did she come from? What was inside her? And why did she call it a key? Asterisk. Darkness was not silent anymore. It breathed. It moved. It watched. John sat still in the old ranger cabin, next to the alien woman. The room was cold, lit only by the faint glow of her skin. Outside the window, the forest was no longer safe. Something was out there. It had eyes, red, blinking eyes. They moved like hunters, quiet, Patient. John held a small axe in his hand, useless maybe. But it made him feel less helpless. The alien woman lay on the floor, weak and shaking. Sweat dripped down her glowing skin. She was in pain. Every few minutes, she whispered in a strange language. Her voice, even when broken, sounded like music mixed with fear. Then, she spoke again. Time, short, they come. Baby must live. John looked at her. She was afraid, but not for herself. She was afraid for what was inside her. He remembered her words from earlier. Not just baby. Key. What did that mean? Was the child special? Dangerous? Or humanity's only hope? His hand trembled slightly. He had seen dead animals in the forest before. Clean cuts, no blood, like machines had taken them. He had blamed poachers. Now he knew better. Someone had been watching Earth. And now, something had arrived to take what she carried. John stood up, went to the door, and peered through a crack. Red lights moved silently between the trees. They were closer now. The pod crash had not gone unnoticed. Suddenly, a sound, knock, knock, knock. But it wasn't the door. It was coming from inside the woman. John turned. Her body glowed brighter. Her stomach moved unnaturally. The baby inside was pushing, ready to be born. And then, a pulse. A silent wave of energy hit the room like wind. John felt it, not on his skin, but in his mind. Like someone had spoken to him without using words. For a second, he saw something. Not with his eyes, but in his mind, a planet with twin moons. Buildings floating in the air, fire, screams, an army of metal creatures hunting a blue-skinned people. And a mother running through fire, carrying a child wrapped in light. John blinked. The vision was gone. He looked at the woman. Her eyes were full of tears. She had shared a piece of her memory. He now knew her world was gone. Burned by something. Cold and cruel. Her people had one hope left. The baby she carried. And now, Earth was the last place left to hide. John breathed deeply. The decision he made tonight would change everything. Save a stranger and risk war with something far beyond human understanding. Or walk away and live a quiet life while the stars above died one by one. He looked at her again. I'll stay, he whispered. The alien woman reached out her hand. Weak fingers touched his. There was no fear between them now, only trust. John grabbed an old medical kit, towels and blankets. He didn't know how alien births worked, but he would try. He had to. Outside, the red lights stopped. They had found the cabin. One of them stepped forward. Tall, thin, metal skin, glowing red eyes, not human, not machine. Something in between. It raised a finger, pointed toward the door. Inside, the woman screamed. The birth had started. John placed a chair against the door and held the axe tighter. If you want her, he whispered, you'll have to go through me. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid to die. Because now, he had something worth protecting. Some births begin with a cry. This one began with a silence so deep. Even the trees stopped breathing, inside the old ranger cabin. Time had frozen. The alien woman lay on the floor, her body shaking. Her skin flickered between soft blue and silver light. Her eyes were wide, not from fear, but from something ancient, something sacred. John knelt beside her, sweat on his forehead. He didn't understand alien biology. He had only a few towels, a flashlight, and courage, but he had made his choice. He was going to help her, no matter what came through that door. The strange machines outside were silent now, watching, waiting. Inside, the woman gripped John's hand. Her strength was fading fast. Then it happened. A soft glow escaped her stomach. Not blood. Not liquid. Light. Pure, golden light, rising like mist. And then, a small shape, the baby. It didn't scream. It didn't cry. It opened its eyes, and The room changed. John blinked. The world around him melted for a second. The walls of the cabin faded. He saw stars, planets, clouds of energy moving through space like rivers. He wasn't in the cabin anymore. He was somewhere else. He heard voices. No thoughts, not his own. You are seen, you are heard. You are chosen. Then, darkness again. He was back in the cabin. He gasped for air. The alien woman smiled. Weakly, her lips moved, but no words came. She pointed toward the baby, then placed her hand over John's heart, and then she stopped breathing. John sat still. The cabin was silent again. The baby lay wrapped in a glowing blanket of soft light, eyes open, watching him. It didn't look dangerous. It looked calm. Curious. It had soft blue skin, but its face, it looked partly human, half alien. John had seen many births during his time as a ranger, animals, even one time helping a woman during an emergency. But this was something else. He picked up the child gently. It was warm, lighter than it looked. And then it spoke, not with a voice, but directly into his mind. Mother, gone. You are next. John dropped the blanket in shock, but the baby floated, slowly, in the air. For a moment, it hovered, then came back down gently into his arms. John's hands shook. What are you? He whispered, but the baby just looked at him, blinking. Slowly, calm, silent. He heard movement outside. The metal beings had moved closer. They were surrounding the cabin now. John looked at the baby. We have to go. He wrapped the baby, placed him inside a backpack with padding, and kicked open the back door of the cabin. The forest was dark, cold, and silent, but he knew where to run, an old tunnel under the cliffs, forgotten even by locals. As he ran, the baby made no sound. Only once, when John almost tripped, did he hear a small voice, not outside, but in his head. Danger, south, not safe. John froze. Did the baby just warn him? He turned north instead, took the long path. Behind him, the cabin exploded. Not with fire, but with a flash of red energy. The machines had found it. But he was already gone. He ran for almost an hour, his breath heavy, legs tired. Finally, he reached the tunnel and slipped inside. Dark, safe, silent. He sat down, heart racing. He pulled the baby from the backpack, holding it close. It looked up at him. And for the first time, it smiled, not like a normal baby, like it knew something. John felt a chill. Not fear, not joy. Something else. Responsibility. He whispered, Who are you? The baby blinked slowly. And inside John's mind came a single word. Hope. Shadows used to mean nothing. Just tricks of the light. Just trees and the wind. But now shadows could hunt. Now shadows could kill. John hadn't slept. In 2 days, he moved through the forest with quiet steps, heart beating like a drum. The baby was strapped to his chest in a padded carrier, hidden beneath layers of blankets. The child made no sound. It never cried. It never complained. But John knew they were being followed, not just by the machines from the sky, but by someone else. Humans. It had started the night before. After escaping the blast at the ranger cabin, John found an abandoned farmhouse deeper in the woods. No power, no signal. Perfect place to rest. But minutes after he entered, he saw something outside. Not red lights this time. Flashlights, boots, guns, moving with military discipline. John grabbed the baby and ran out the back. They fired no bullets. One of them whispered into a radio, Target is mobile. Repeat, target with asset is mobile. They weren't there to rescue him. They were there to take the baby. Now, John moved only at night. Through rivers, across rocks, hiding tracks. He didn't know who to trust anymore. Not the government. Not anyone. Only the baby. That morning, he found a small cave behind a waterfall. Cold, wet, but hidden. He set up a fire and gave the baby a bottle of milk. The child drank quietly, then looked up at John. Suddenly, John's ears rang. The world around him froze for a second. And then, inside his mind, he saw something again. A memory. But not his. A group of people in suits, human scientists, in a dark lab. Watching. A recording of the alien birth. They were talking, calm, cold. One of them said, "This hybrid must be retrieved, at any cost." Another, "It's not a child, it's a key. It opens something we don't understand." Then, a man with a scar sighed, "If the carrier resists, terminate." The vision ended. John gasped, eyes wide. The baby looked at him with innocent eyes. But behind them, there was knowledge. Too much knowledge, John whispered. "You showed me that. Why?" The baby didn't speak, not with words. But John felt something. "You protect me, so I show you truth." John looked into the fire, thinking, someone on Earth had known about the crash, someone had prepared. And they were already here. Suddenly, outside the cave, a noise, branches snapping. A quiet whisper of movement. John grabbed the axe, stood still, holding the baby close. More noise, voices, closer. Then, footsteps, fast, running. A man appeared at the cave's edge, tall, dirty jacket, bleeding from the arm. He looked shocked to see John. You have it." John stepped back. "Who are you?" "I'm not one of them." The man said, hands up. "I was part of the team. I helped track the signal, but I didn't know what we were really doing." John narrowed his eyes. "Why are you here?" The man looked over his shoulder. "They're coming. You have to go, now." Suddenly, the baby's eyes lit up. Soft blue glow. The man stepped back in fear. "What's it doing?" And then, the cave shook. Rocks cracked. Water froze in midair. The wind twisted unnaturally. John held the baby tighter. "Stop, it's okay." The glow faded. The shaking stopped. The man stared in shock. "It can do that?" John looked down at the baby. "He's learning, fast." They ran again, through the trees. The stranger led the way. Behind them, the hunters were coming. Black suits, silent drones. A strange buzzing in the air. The man pointed to an old mine shaft. "Down there. They won't follow that deep." They climbed down the cold ladder into the dark. John turned to the man. "What do they want with him?" The man whispered, "They think the child is a living key to something buried on Earth. Something ancient, alien, locked away long ago." John held the baby tighter. He now understood. This was not just a chase, it was a war waiting to begin. The stars didn't speak with sound, they spoke with memory. And tonight, the stars were whispering his name. John sat in the cold tunnel of the old mine shaft. The walls were wet. The air was heavy. The only light came from the baby, glowing softly in the dark. The stranger who helped them, Mark, was asleep against the stone wall, holding his bleeding arm. He had told them enough before passing out. The child was not just a survivor, he was a key, a living one. But a key to what? John looked at the baby resting on his lap. So small, so calm. Yet every time he closed his eyes, John saw more than dreams. He saw worlds. Tonight, something was different. The baby opened his eyes. Blue light filled the cave. And John heard it, not with his ears, but deep in his mind. A voice, not human, not male, not female. It sounded like wind and water and metal, all at once. Connection established. John sat upright. The light around the baby expanded, touching the walls, reaching beyond the rock. A ring of symbols appeared in the air, floating, turning. Then, John was pulled into a vision. He was no longer in the cave. He stood on a mountaintop, under a black sky filled with 3 moons. A city of floating towers burned in the distance. Strange flying creatures screamed overhead. In front of him stood a group of beings like the baby, but older, tall, glowing. One of them stepped forward. It spoke without speaking. He is one of us, but also one of you. He carries our knowledge and your future. John looked at the flames behind them. What happened to your world? He asked. The being answered, we buried something on Earth. Long before your kind could speak. A mistake. A weapon. Now the enemy wants the key to unlock it. They will burn your planet to reach what we tried to hide. Suddenly, the ground cracked. John saw Earth, not peaceful but breaking. Apart, oceans rising, cities swallowed by skyfire. Machines walking through smoke. The voice returned. Protect the key. He is not ready, but when the time comes, he will remember everything. You must survive, even if we do not. The vision ended. John collapsed, breathing hard, back in the cave. Mark had woken up and stared at him. What just happened? He asked. John looked at the baby. He connected with something. His people. They showed me what's coming. Mark frowned. What is coming? John stood slowly. An ancient war. A buried weapon. And Earth is standing on top of it. Suddenly, a tremor. The ground shook. Dust fell from the tunnel ceiling. A low sound echoed through the cave. Like metal. Grinding against rock. Mark grabbed a flashlight, pointed it down the tunnel. The rocks were melting, not from heat, from sound. Something was coming through. John grabbed the baby. Eyes wide. Mark whispered. They found us. They ran, through narrow paths, over broken rails. The baby's glow lit the way. Behind them, walls cracked and collapsed. Something was chasing them, not fast, but unstoppable. A shape of dark metal, floating just above the ground. No face, no eyes. Just a pulse of red light in the center. John shouted, keep running. Mark turned and threw a flare. It exploded, light and smoke. The thing didn't stop. It moved through the fire. John reached the end of the tunnel, a vertical shaft leading up. A broken ladder led to a grate above, to the forest. He passed the baby to Mark. Climb. Now Mark grabbed the baby and began to climb. John followed, every step shaking. The red light below got closer. One rung broke. John slipped, but a small soft hand reached down. The baby's fingers touched John's forehead, and for a moment, time slowed. John felt lighter. He floated. The next second, he was beside Mark at the top. They kicked the grate open and burst into the moonlight. Breathing hard, they sat in silence. The forest was cold, quiet, but the danger wasn't gone. John looked at the baby. The child stared at the sky. One star blinked, then pulsed blue. John understood. Someone was watching. The baby was not alone, and neither were they. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the ones who smile while they hold the knife. The sun had not yet risen. The forest was painted in blue mist and cold silence. John stood near the edge of a river, baby in his arms, staring at the sky. The same star that blinked last night now pulsed gently. Like a heartbeat. Somewhere out there, others like the child were watching. Waiting. Beside John, Mark checked a small tracking device. He had stolen it from the team that once hunted them. We're clear, he said. No drones, no signals, for now. John nodded. They had made it through the mine, escaped the machine, and now they had a new plan. Mark knew someone, a scientist. Someone who had worked on secret alien tech. She had gone missing years ago, left the system, disappeared into the underground. But Mark had a location, a cabin by the cliffs. She might help. She might understand what this child truly was. John didn't like the plan, but they had no choice. They walked for hours. As they neared the cliffs, the trees thinned. The wind grew colder. A small wooden house appeared at the edge of the rocks. Windows closed, curtains drawn, Mark knocked 3 times. A moment later, a woman opened the door. She looked nothing like a scientist, more like a tired traveler. Hair gray, eyes sharp, hands scarred. Mark smiled. "Hey, Doc." The woman looked past him. She saw the baby, and her face changed. Fear, awe, recognition. She opened the door wide. "Get inside, now." The inside was filled with strange machines. Maps of the stars, old tech, alien symbols carved on stone pieces. The woman stared at the baby. "This is it," she whispered. "The child of 2 bloods. You have no idea what you've brought here." John spoke calmly. "I've seen the visions. The war, the weapon." She nodded. "Then you know what comes next." She picked up a strange device, part alien, part human tech, and held it near the child. The baby stared at it. Then it cracked. The machine broke just from the child's presence. The woman dropped it. "Incredible," she said. "He's already affecting matter, and he's not even aware yet." Then everything went wrong. The window shattered. Flash grenades exploded through the walls. Men in black suits stormed in with weapons. Raised. John grabbed the baby and ducked, but he was too late. A blast hit his side. Not bullets, a stun beam. He dropped to the floor, shaking. Mark stood in the doorway. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't fighting. He was calm. "I'm sorry, John," he said. "I really am. But this isn't your war." John's eyes widened. "You led them here," he whispered. Mark looked away. "They said they wouldn't hurt the child. They just want to unlock it, study it. You don't understand what it could mean for humanity." The baby was pulled from John's arms. He screamed, crawled forward. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the baby reaching for him, glowing, eyes wide with fear. Then blackness. Hours passed. John woke up inside a glass room, underground, cold walls, bright lights. Alone. No baby, no sound, only a camera in the corner watching. He slammed his fists against the glass. "Where is he?" A voice came through the speaker. It was Mark. "John, I know you're angry, but listen. You don't know what that child really is." Another voice joined in, older, colder. "You bonded with it. That makes you useful. That's why we kept you alive." John growled. "If you hurt him, I swear," the voice laughed. "You don't get it. We don't want to kill him. We want to activate him." John froze. "Activate?" There was silence. Then a final line. "Beneath the earth, something is waking. And only the key can open the door." Meanwhile, in another part of the facility, the baby sat inside a circular room. Monitors surrounded him. Scientists stared from behind glass. He didn't cry. He didn't move, but his eyes were closed. He was listening. Far above, in the sky, stars were whispering again, and deep below, something ancient was answering. Legends don't begin when a child is born. They begin when that child makes a choice no one else can. This was that moment. The world had forgotten silence. Now it buzzed with machines, clicked with weapons, and burned with curiosity. But beneath all the noise, something ancient had started to move, something no one had heard for 1,000 lifetimes, and it was calling. The child. John lay on the cold floor of the underground cell, bruised, bleeding, barely awake. Every breath felt like lifting a mountain. But he didn't care about pain. He cared about him, the baby, the key, his son, in every way that mattered. John closed his eyes, and in that moment, he heard something. Not a sound, a feeling. A whisper inside his heart. "You're not alone." He looked up. The glass wall in front of him flickered, then cracked. And shattered. Standing there was the baby, but he wasn't just glowing now, he was shining. Floating a few inches above the ground, eyes lit with white-blue fire, and behind him, the walls of the facility were warping, bending like heat in the air. Sirens screamed. People Ran. The baby held out his hand. John reached, and everything disappeared. Suddenly, they were in the forest again, but this time, something was different. The sky was wrong. A black circle hovered above the clouds, not a ship, not a star, but an opening. Something beyond the sky was waiting. John sat up. You saved me, again. The baby looked at him, this time. He spoke, not in the mind, not in symbols. With words. Simple, gentle, powerful. Now, you saved them. John frowned. What do you mean? The baby looked at the earth, beneath their feet. The ground trembled. And John saw it. A vision so clear, it felt like reality. Mountains splitting. Oceans draining. A giant structure beneath Earth's crust. Old, broken, waking up. It was not alien. It was older. A weapon built to erase planets. Something the baby's people had tried to bury long ago, but now humans had found it and activated it. The baby turned to John. If I go, I can stop it, lock it forever, but I won't come back. John shook his head. No, there has to be another way. The baby smiled, that same quiet smile from the night he was born. You gave me life, now I give you peace. He floated, higher, glowing brighter, until even the shadows bent around him. The sky cracked open. A voice, ancient, massive, whispered through every tree, every rock. Key accepted. Then, silence. A white flash swallowed the world. When John opened his eyes, he was alone. No machine. No opening in the sky. No weapon. Beneath his feet, just the forest. Still, clean, alive. Weeks passed. Governments denied the explosion underground. Scientists had no answer for the magnetic storms that ended suddenly. People forgot. But John remembered. Every time he looked up at the stars, he remembered the child who never cried, who never spoke until it mattered, who saved a planet that wasn't even his. And one night while sitting by the fire, he felt it again, that same warmth in his chest, a whisper, not words, just a feeling, hope.